Welcome back, our spooky friends. As it is October, and with October comes a lot of really good stuff, such as zombies on this episode. We are talking the brain eating, the flesh decaying, the slow walking, depending on the property, zombies to kick off October and the spooky month, which is our favorite time of year. So first things first, we are Hops Geek News. I am Matt. With me is Lauren. And if you are looking for us, search Hops News on any podcasting platform. Pretty soon, that in itself is going to be changing. We will be moving RSS feeds where you can search Hops Geek News, and that's where you will find us just by searching our name. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be great. But for the time being, our social media accounts are all Hops Geek News, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. If you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/Hops Geek News. That's where you can find us. So like I said, today is kicking off our spooky month. And so we're going to talk zombies. And I feel like the living dead lately with how much I've been working. And so it's a perfect way to kick it off. And you can't kick off spooky month without drinking a pumpkin spiced blonde stout latte from Western Collective out of Boise, Idaho, coming in at 7% alcohol by volume. A perfect blend of pumpkin spices and coffee. It's delicious. Had it last year. They brought it back this year. They're like one of two breweries here that are going to be doing some sort of pumpkin spice beer. So I am fully on board. Lauren, what are you drinking? As it's just been chaos and pandemonium over here. So
I searched the fridge and tried to find some zombie filled beer. And I didn't find any zombie themed. I think I just haven't hit up a lot of the seasonal. Yeah, even Tactical last year, they did a bunch of Halloween beers that were like IPAs and sours and stuff.
Right.
Which, I mean, I like a pumpkin beer, but I can only do so many pumpkin. So I like when they do the other kind of Halloween themed beers. I'm sorry, but I didn't have any. However, I did have some J. Wakefield in my fridge, thanks to my cousin. So I'm popping one of those open. It is called Hold It Now, Hit It. I actually Googled that. It's a Beastie Boys song. So it's double dry hopped triple IPA, and it kind of is zombie themed if you think about it, because whenever I walk out of J. Wakefield Brewing, I walk like a zombie.
And you kill your wallet.
Hardy har har. Yes, I walk out with no money dragging my feet because it's the best brewery ever.
No, I'm with you. And I am surprised because normally last year you sent me some good tactical beers, which are zombie themed and stuff. I have a Harry Potter one, but I'm saving that for if we revisit the Harry Potter franchise. And so,
the butterbeer one?
Yeah, I still have that one. I haven't drank it yet. I was saving it, which I guess could be.
Still have one that I was saving for somebody that asked for it, but I don't know when I'm going to see him.
It's a real shame. Guess you better drink it.
I mean, I got to do what I got to do. It's a yummy sour.
That is true. I wouldn't know yet. So,
I mean, I don't think sours age as quick as IPAs, but I don't think it's something that you want to age either.
No, you don't want to sit there and let it do its thing for a long time. Stouts are the only ones that are really okay to sit there and age, of course, but.
Well, in a fruited sour, I feel like eventually it'll just explode.
No, not if you keep it in the fridge. If you keep it temperature controlled, it'll be good. If you keep
I've heard of some people still having them, the overly fruited ones, they just still keep fermenting.
Well, I'm still mad that a certain person in Tennessee never gave me the Smiggles. So I just dumped $25 down the freaking drain. So that was cool.
Maybe you should go visit him.
That's that, and then, other things, but moving on. We don't have anything that we messed up. Last time you've heard from us, we've been doing our FanX Salt Lake stuff. Man,
I think there was a few names we didn't remember, but nothing worth
I'm sure there
looking
was.
up.
It was a fun time. I wish we could.
I did hear my kids screaming in the background, but I took care of that this week. They're not here.
We've just killed the kid. Mine were screaming, crying. The dog got out. As we're sitting down to record, we were supposed to go live, and it was just chaos. Pure chaos. So we did ahead and did a pre-recorded instead of live, probably for the best. However, we've been reading and watching some things though, because we've been back. We're in the flow of things. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off with what you've been reading and watching?
Kinda. I'm not totally in the flow of things because we had a hurricane this week and that kind of messed things up. And 2 birthdays in the house.
That's right.
So I did in spirit of this week.
Hey. Look at us.
Why have you wave your hands in the air?
So we got 2 birthdays here. You got 2 birthdays there. We're just living the same life, but separate states.
Yep, both our daughters are born the same day.
Yep.
Mine's 19, yours is not.
You celebrated Josh's birthday. I'll be celebrating
Josh,
mine.
yeah, my husband turned the big 4-0. Not in Mexico where we should have been because flights were canceled thanks to Hurricane Ian. Thanks, Obama. No, we honestly, I can't complain. It didn't barely hit us. It did hit us, but we didn't even lose power. We didn't lose power for Irma either. Some of our plants are looking rough. Like, whew. Like my daughter's like, those plants look tired. Like just from moving around, they just like fall. But yeah, this is the second time we've had a plant in the front yard that is now going to have to be moved because it is just blocking the doorway. But if that's we did start to have water come into the house, but Josh caught it and got towels and stuff. So we're good. What have I been watching? In the spirit of zombies, I did watch the first episode of the new season of The Walking Dead. Not much happened. I don't really have anything to say about that. She-Hulk this morning was awesome.
I haven't watched
but we're not going to talk about that yet. I did not like the one 2 weeks ago. I don't even think we talked about it because we were at FanX. I thought the wedding one was terrible.
It was cool, but it was just kind of, although I know with the latest episode, spoiler 3, 2, 1, Daredevil's back, because the second you hop on Twitter, the entire episode's basically, there's clips of the episode all on Twitter.
That's not even a spoiler, though. It was literally in the freaking trailer. It was in the trailer,
but some,
Can we stop ruining so many things in trailers? Like, if we had no idea that Daredevil was going to be in She-Hulk,
the pop.
This episode would have been so much better.
It would have destroyed the internet would have just imploded on itself. People would have lost their minds. It would have been glorious.
But instead they're just, this is what you can expect, and like. I don't know. I didn't even watch the new Black Panther trailer because I don't want to see any more until the movie.
That movie's going to wreck me. And there's a really big spoiler going around right now about Black Adam. So
about Black Adam.
Oh, well, it's a pretty big spoiler. I would everybody on the internet right now needs to tread lightly. That's all I got. Like, the internet is not a safe place. It's as though you're walking through Ukraine and there's mines. I'm sorry. Maybe that was insensitive, but you know what I meant.
But yeah, I did watch The House. See, everything I've watched, I feel like is too new to talk about. But one thing I think everybody did watch this last weekend was Hocus Pocus 2.
I did watch it. You want to talk about it real quick?
Sure.
Well, if you haven't seen it, skip ahead maybe a couple of minutes, but we're going to spoil it real quick. What did you think about it?
I didn't care for it.
Well, I'm not surprised. Somehow, okay. I'm not saying that in a negative manner by any means. Was it a great film? No. It didn't
even compare to the first one at all.
They tried to capture that again, but it fell a little short. I liked the movie for what it was. I was entertained, but the magic wasn't there. Magic, pun intended, right?
But
it wasn't quite there. Like I thought what was missing was the three witches kind of had no personality. They were kind of the same. And it was kind of like contrived, just, I don't know, that was kind of lame. But what I did like was I liked that, the mayor, her dad, I forgot the characters' names because they're very forgettable.
Buster from Arrested Development.
Buster Bluth. Yes, he was all about those candy apples. And then just the fact that we're back in Salem again, I think 95% of my enjoyment was the fact that we're in Salem, Massachusetts again. And that is, I would probably sell my children off right now to be in Salem, Massachusetts this time of year.
That's right now. Tomorrow you might like them again. I don't want to say I didn't like it. I did enjoy it. I just don't think it was in any way, shape, or form in the same wheelhouse as the first one. And I feel like the nostalgia should have been so easy to build upon. And there were a few times where I laughed, like they made fun of themselves with the whole virgin thing when some kid's like, what's a virgin? It's like, how many parents have had to explain, or my answer when my kids have watched Hocus Pocus Little Nass what a virgin is, I say someone who's never been kissed. Cause obviously you don't want that to be the gateway. Like, oh, you're 7. Let me have this conversation with you now. Oh, I'm gonna wait a little while. So I'm just going to say someone who's never been kissed. And that fills in all, like, that makes sense to them. Cause it's, she's talking about him like in The Girl. But I just, it was funny. Erica said, she goes, they don't sell Roombas at Walgreens.
Okay.
That was one of her complaints.
I loved that.
That was cute and funny. And the Swiffer
comes out on the Swiffer and the Roombas. That was great to me. And of course, there's that scene where there's salt around them and then the Roombas come up and they eat the salt. That was that was clever. I really enjoyed that.
So there were moments that I enjoyed. I guess maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe this movie will get better the more I watch it, but I think the three main ones, Danny, Allison, and Max not being in it, I didn't know they weren't going to be in it. Erica said she had read an article saying they weren't going to be in it.
That was bothering me. That was bothering the crap out of me because I was expecting, because they referenced one of them a bunch of times. And so you expect, when they reference somebody a bunch of times, you kind of expect like, hey, they're going to show up. And they just didn't. So that kind of sucked.
But, we finally got it. It's all the more reason that makes me not want to see a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, that's
Tim Burton has said he's not going to touch that movie with, 10.5 a pull. Hardy har har.
To be fair, though, we didn't love Hocus Pocus 1 at first. But although that was vastly different than this movie.
As a kid, I loved Hocus Pocus when I first... But maybe that's it, too. We watched it through the eyes of kids.
Yeah.
Where we watched Hocus Pocus 2 through the eyes of jaded adults.
To be fair, too, in this one, I didn't feel like there was ever any danger. You know what I'm saying?
No. It's like the witches got like
hearts. They weren't mean. They weren't evil. They weren't.
Yeah, that's it too. They were like nice at the end and just wanted to be together. It's like, y'all are back in hell. Like that's where you want to go with your sisters.
She was like, I just want my sisters. Like, no, you know where you're going, right? Like they just poofed away to back to hell. Like, although I was,
no, I didn't like that either. Not every ending has to be this sentimental bullshit. Like I feel like some of
Disney,
these, like
current Disney. That's what it was.
It's like Santa Claus 3 or Thor not Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder. It's like love does not conquer all. Like, come on, these are witches.
They're evil witches. They want to eat children. They don't go from wanting to eat children to all of a sudden
suck
being
the soul
like
out of children for their own youth. I don't think they tried to suck the soul of one child, really.
No. And it was clever how the one guy brought them back, but then that quickly kind of got abandoned. And it was a cool, like little buddy cop with Billy. He was back, and the whole like, it was one kiss and I don't actually love you, but that's her true love. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But overall,
and it was cute to see the girls when they were young.
I really liked that. I thought they did a really good job there. And I think the actress who played Winifred did a really good job as well. So
yeah,
overall, yeah, it's probably, in my opinion, like a 5. It was just enjoyable. Yeah. It was just there. And
she still did the good like lip thing, and yes. I mean, all three of them look fantastic. It's like I think we looked up their ages while we were watching it, and it's like
well, Sarah Jessica Parker great for 57. Winifred, what's her name? 75.
That's what we looked up, Winifred, and I was like,
she's 70. Yeah,
fantastic. Maybe she is sucking the souls of children.
That's Tom Brady and Tom Cruise. But what else have you watched? Well, I know you watched. Did you say The Walking Dead?
Yeah, just stuff that just came out that I'm not ready to do spoilers on.
I'm behind on House of Dragon. I did catch up on Andor this morning. I know when we had talked this morning, I didn't, but then I had some free time for like 30 minutes while I was eating lunch, and I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it now because I don't know when I will. And I'm really enjoying it. To me, this has a feeling that I want to keep if we're going to do these rebellion type stories, these Civil War type stories in Star Wars. All the episodes so far have been great. Yeah, people are complaining it's slow, but you get this.
I don't want to hear anymore though. Yeah, I've only seen the first 3 because then.
No, I'm not going to spoil it. It's the overall vibe of Andor is that it's serious. It's got this tone. It's very heavy, and you.
So 4 and 5 is consistent with 1 through 3.
Yeah. Well, are we on 5? Yeah, I guess we are. Yeah. They are. The tone is consistent still. So very, very good. We're getting places. This is taking the first year of Andor in the Rebellion, and then the next season will be years 2 through 5, of course. But aside from that, Nailed It has a Halloween season out. And if you haven't watched Nailed It, it's great. It's just a cheesy baking show hosted by Nicole Byer and Chef Jacques. And they have guests.
Isn't the one where everybody does terrible?
Yeah, they're all terrible and they have to recreate. So actually Gianni, who plays Dimitri in Cobra Kai, was a contestant. And Mary Hauser, I think her name is, was a judge. So LaRusso's daughter was a judge, and it was great. I've only watched the first episode of that season with the kids. It's great family fun. And then last night I watched My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I guess it's a book.
What is that? I keep hearing about that.
So apparently it's a book. I didn't know it was a book. So I'm kind of interested in reading it. It's set in the 80s. It's on Amazon Prime, just came out September 30th. It's set in the 80s. A group of girls are high school girls. They go to a cabin for the weekend. They drop acid as kids do. And they go to this one area, and one of them gets possessed. And so it's just basically about her being possessed. There are some very suspenseful moments in this, but it's also very comedic at the same time. And one of the guys from How I Met Your Father, the love interest of Hilary Duff, he is in this movie, and he's a pretty funny character. Overall, it's a pretty much a story about, teenage friendships and best friends and not leaving each other behind and all that stuff. So it was a really good movie. I thought it was about a 7.5. It wasn't great, but I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. The visuals were great. Kind of, like I said, suspenseful and comedic, a good mix. So I would add it to your watch this Halloween for sure.
Oh, I did watch Shaun of the Dead for the first time.
For the first time?
Yep, last night.
For the first time? Last night?
Yes. Before we started this podcast, I'm not big into horror movies. So like the slashers and stuff. Now I can appreciate them for what they are. And especially watching them with what's the High on Horror podcast, or the Four Nerds by Nerds.
Yes.
Where he does like the commentary, like listening to the commentary while watching them helps too, or watching them with you while we're commentating and whatnot. So Josh had never seen the full, like both of us had seen parts. So we did end up, because more than one person said that. I did a poll on Instagram, and more than one person said Shaun of the Dead was their favorite zombie movie. It was fun. But I really great. I have not seen Dawn of the Dead. I have not seen Night of the Living Dead. I have not seen any of these. I'm working on it, man.
Oh my! Well, as a spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about that. I love this.
That's fine. I don't think you can. I have seen the movies like World War Z though, or I Am Legend. I've seen those kind of things that have more of like a story to them rather than just mindless eating machines.
Ma'am, there is a story involved in all of these things.
The older movies are sometimes, I don't know. I watched a lot of older movies when I was in law school because I had an ethics professor that would like play clips from them and then tell us what went wrong. And they were always so racist and sexist. And then like there was always some crazy woman in the courtroom yelling like, kill them all or hang them. And I just like, it just like left a bad taste of like older movies in my mouth. But horror movies, ironically, tend to be more progressive than other movies.
That's fair.
So it's only October 5th over here. So I got more zombie movies in my near future. So let's get to some news so then we can talk some zombies.
Yes. So we'll get to some news, man. I feel like it's been a minute since we've done a little bit of news, but why don't you start us real quick
with the best news ever? September 6th, 2024. Wolverine and Deadpool, the movie, is coming out.
Boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
Really, it's like, I will always love you.
The marketing for this movie is going to be fantastic.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for the posters and everything to come out like that's legit.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if just the two of them handle the marketing, they're money. They're good to go.
Oh, without a doubt. Just let Ryan Reynolds handle it all and we're gold.
I watched that one with where he just walks by. I mean, probably 7 times.
Yeah, that's fair. It's so originally, fun fact, the original story for when they were going to do this was going to be the fact that him and Logan go on a road trip. That was going to be the original like storyline, which I think is pretty cool.
That would be fun to see them on a road trip, kind of like Supernatural.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to obviously do a lot on Wolverine and Deadpool before it comes out. We have 2 years. We'll see what happens in the next 2 years. But very excited. I hope to goodness this does not get delayed. So some other news that isn't as exciting. Sony Pictures has acquired Tarzan and they want to reinvent the story. I think the only good Tarzan that's ever been done, in my opinion, is the 1999 Disney one. Grogu Tamagotchis are coming. Why would anybody want a Tamagotchi these days? But they're coming. Armor Wars will now be a movie instead of a TV show. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will come out in 2024. Figment from Epcot is getting a movie. Ooh. I'm really hoping this is good and they don't ruin Figment.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm very curious to see that as well, because as anything does, right? Everything gets ruined. It's all so easy to ruin it because we just suck these properties dry. And
Figment's like one of my favorite Disney characters, but he's also not a super well-known character for some people, especially if you've never been to Epcot. He's basically the Mickey of Epcot. And I mean, the new ride, a lot of people aren't happy with the new ride. That's really old. But Outer Banks Season 3 trailer has been released. An interactive DuckTales adventure will be coming to Epcot. Ooh. Super Mario movie teaser trailer came out. Okay, the movie will be out
really good.
April 7th. Yeah?
I'm not analyzing the way people do their voices. Chris Pratt. But the visuals, this movie is colorful, and visually it looked really good. So I'm going to see this movie for sure. It looks pretty sweet, and I like Mario.
Logan likes Mario. All the kids like Mario, even if the
kids do like Mario. It's
kind of like Star Wars, where even if they don't know what it is, the kids still like it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because Oliver likes Mario, and he doesn't quite understand what Mario is.
Right. I guess it's just eye candy. But I mean, how many kids are into Star Wars that have never seen a Star Wars movie?
My children.
I mean, now you have like the Legos and everything, but I mean, I'm not going to knock it. But like my daughter is big into Grogu and Star Wars and has all these toys, but she won't watch any of the movies. Okay.
Oh, you're a real fan? Name 3 Star Wars movies.
Right? She asked me yesterday if I can name any AC/DC songs. I'm like, I'm not wearing a shirt. What are you trying to call me, a poser?
Right. Like, first of all, I was there when the scrolls were written, swine. Second of all,
I don't think I'm not that old. Well, what's funny is the next time we got in the car, Highway to Hell was playing, and I'm like, hilarious. Here you go. Here's one.
Got him.
Five Nights at Freddy's live action is moving forward. Trick or Treat director says a sequel is in, quote, very active development, end quote. And my last piece of news is a Velma series is coming to HBO Max starring Mindy Kaling. I don't know how to say her last
Velma
name. Girl from The Office.
Recently come out. Yes, this is a very adult. There's a trailer that came out. It looks pretty good. I'm going to be honest. The trailer.
I didn't see the trailer.
Yeah, it's out now. It looks really good. And Velma came out this past week. And as you know, gay, and some people had issues with that, as they would, but some of the people ooh, why was she kissing Shaggy? Like, she can be both, man. Who cares?
She's bi. She's not a lesbian. This is my own personal opinion. And that is because in the Scooby Natural episode, she couldn't stop talking about Sam's shoulders.
Well, I kind of hope she is, just because, look, you know, between her and She-Hulk, your boy's got a thing for apparently CGI cartoon. I don't know. Let's not go there. Never mind.
Although I will say, I have heard straight men say they'd go gay for the Supernatural guys. So maybe
Velma,
there are exceptions, and she is a lesbian.
Remember the amount of Velma cosplays we saw at Comic-Con?
Yeah, we really did see a lot.
She's a very hot. Yes, she is. Person to commodity. She's not a person. She's not a property. But
skirt and the knee highs. I mean, that's like Clueless.
Yes.
But yeah, there was a lot of people that were like, yeah, we knew this in the 70s when she first came out. Like, this isn't news.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. She can be both. Not to mention she's a fictional character. So really, who cares?
Right.
Along the lines of your going into news that I've got. So there's a really fucked up horror movie called Terrifier that is out. And apparently there's a sequel. And the sequel's getting a limited run in theaters starting tonight. The first one's really creepy, really fucked up. It's about this clown that looks terrifying. And so I'm pretty excited. It's not playing in a theater near me, so I hope I can watch it here soon, because for some reason I do like effed up horror movies. Speaking of which, I did watch one this week. It's called Speak No Evil, and it's like a foreign film, but it's mostly in English with, you know, Danish subtitles and stuff. And if you have kids, it's gonna kind of mess with you a bit. So I don't recommend if you're somebody who like it's just messed up. A family goes on vacation. This other family makes friends with them and invites them to their house. I don't want to see it. Yeah, they invite them to their house. So they go to their house. The family turns out to be pretty messed up. And I'll leave it at that. So anyways, David Harbour is coming out, as we knew already previously announced. However, they dropped the trailer for Violent Night, releasing December 2nd. I cannot wait. This movie has my name all over it. And he's got to save a kidnapped family from mercenaries on Christmas Eve. What is better than Dave Harbour as Santa Claus killing bad guys? It's made for me, folks. Tales of the Jedi is going to be out on October 26th. It's going to be 6 episodes and focusing on Qui-Gon, Ahsoka, and Count Dooku. We've already talked about like how Bad Batch would be on January 4th, and Rogue Squadrons was taken off the list. And then Don Cheadle has told us that Armor Wars is no longer going to be a TV series. Oh, it was in my notes. I'm sorry. I must have blacked out. Yep, there it is.
Haha, that's
just kidding, everybody.
First.
Ha 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 ha. Well, with that said, that's all my news. I think I had more. I just didn't have time to sift through all my news. So until next week, let's go into our main topic. Main topic time?
Topic time.
Let's talk about zombies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the lore of zombies?
The lore. Okay, so we all know how zombies are mainly depicted in pulp culture, mindless eating machines. Let me scroll my stupid laptop. Here we go. That died and came back. Most of the time, however, the origin of the lore goes back to the ancient Greeks. So I actually went to the history.com webpage. And so this is some of the info that I have paraphrased. The ancient Greeks may have been the first civilization to fear the undead. Archaeologists have unearthed many ancient graves which contain skeletons that were actually pinned down by rocks and other heavy objects. So they're assuming that this was to prevent the dead bodies from reanimating.
Yeah, the Egyptians. Isn't that why they turned their people into mummies? So they didn't something about that.
Oh, the Egyptians.
Yeah, but there's just like the fear of the dead coming back to life has been a big religious thing.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, remember they would have like the tombs where you had a bell in it because they would bury people and like they were like digging up a coffin and there was like scratches inside because they buried people alive.
Ooh, creepy.
That's terrifying. One of the better reasons to live today and not years ago.
Facts.
Yeah. So the Bible, both Old and New Testament, talk about the resurrection of saints and sinners in the end of times, which could be one of the reasons so many zombie stories are also associated with the apocalypse. And of course, there is Jesus, which one of my friends, Jess, her son, when he was little, asked if Jesus was a zombie because it was Easter time and they were learning about Jesus rising from the dead. And he's like, so is Jesus a zombie?
Yeah. Why wouldn't he be?
Depends on your definition of zombie. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he tried to eat any brains.
No,
but zombies are depicted in many different cultures, like you were just saying. So some zombie folklore has been around for centuries in Haiti, possibly originating in the 17th century when West African slaves were brought to work on Haiti's sugarcane plantations. And according to some reports, the life, or rather afterlife, of a zombie represented the horrific plight of slavery.
Interesting. Well, many people who follow the voodoo religion today believe that zombies are myths. However, some do believe that zombies are people that have been revived by a voodoo practitioner known as a bokor. I hope I got that right. Bokors have a tradition of using herbs, shells, fish, animal parts, and bones, amongst other objects, to create concoctions, including zombie powders, which contain tetrodotoxin. You're giving me all this. I think
that sounded good.
Yeah. Tetrodotoxin, a deadly neurotoxin found in pufferfish and some other marine species. Used carefully at sublethal doses, the tetrodotoxin combination may cause zombie-like symptoms such as difficulty walking, mental confusion, and respiratory problems. So I can kind of see why zombie, like if you remember that whole thing where there was people that had gotten high in Florida on bath salts and they were eating people. That's another kind of like zombies.
Yeah.
So high doses of this toxin can lead to a paralysis and coma, which could cause somebody to appear dead and then be buried alive, which then they could later revive, and then claws on the inside of caskets. Although I'm not digging up people's bodies to look inside their casket to see claws, any of that stuff. Zombies have actually appeared in literature as far back as 1697. They were described as spirits or ghosts instead of undead cannibals. Zombies showed up on the film around the same time as their monster peers, Frankenstein? Yeah, that's right? Yeah. Why am I having problems?
Frankenstein.
I was in my head. Okay, so I was saying Frankenstein.
Yeah, I still can't say monster.
In my head, it was saying Frankenstein. I don't know why. Anyways.
Like he's Jewish?
Yes. The Jewish version is actually Frankenstein. And, of course, Dracula. With the 1932 release of White Zombie, which is also Rob Zombie's one of his band names, White Zombie.
I think that's a beer, too.
I think it probably
Brewery
is.
in North Carolina.
I think it is. And then, last for me, in 1968, Zombies acquired a cult following of their own with the release of Night of the Living Dead, which is one of my personal favorites, which was directed by George Romero, a.k.a. the father of the zombie film and the zombie lore and things of that nature. So over the next 15 years, Romero would actually go on to direct 2 more zombie films, Dawn of the Dead in 1978 and Day of the Dead. Special effects and technology had kept improving with each film, and the zombies appeared more gruesome and realistic. So if you go into Night of the Living Dead, yeah, they just seem like they plaster gray makeup on. It's not very great. However, for its time, it's black and white film. I like it. If you're a fan of these classics and you just go in there, like, it's what got the zombie
with that mindset.
Yeah, you got the zombie culture started, and to some people it was legit terrifying and things of that nature. And it takes place in Pennsylvania, and it was great. And at the end was just a crazy twist. So I'm going to spoil it in 3, 2, 1. If you haven't seen it, Lauren, I know she hasn't, but it's still worth watch. Our main character ends up getting shot in the head, which is something that also I wasn't expecting my first watch through, because you think he's going to survive the night. And then the people who are cleaning up the town kill this guy. So I highly recommend you watch it anyways, even though by now it came out in 1968. So if you've gone this long without getting spoiled, I commend you.
Yeah, I just now got it spoiled. Well, when they used to do Talking Dead after The Walking Dead, the one guy, I don't remember his name, he has the longer hair. He does a lot of the special effects. He regularly would mention George Romero and how much he inspired him and how he drew so much inspiration from those movies. And I think anybody who does horror probably does as well.
Like especially the old school ones like Wolfman and Dracula, Night of the Living Dead, Swamp Thing, all those, like, they draw inspiration from, of course.
Yeah. So last piece of random zombie news before we go into movies and TV shows is this one's kind of funny. So back in 2011, the CDC took advantage of the zombie obsessed all of us. Like, that was big. Like, Walking Dead had just come out and all sorts of zombie stuff was coming out. They created a, quote, zombie preparedness, end quote, website. The post was an example of educational entertainment. It used a popular cultural reference to zombies to promote preparedness for different emergencies and disasters. The campaign has since been retired, but I thought that was a clever way to get people to actually, prepare beforehand for a hurricane or a flood or something like that.
Well, this leads into, zombies and pop culture. So you mentioned World War Z, how you watched the movie. There's a book which it's based off of very, very poorly, but the book itself is fantastic. It is worth a read. It's written in like journal style, and it's one of my favorite zombie novels that I've ever read, because my brother and we used to go to Barnes and Noble, and we love reading zombie films or reading these types of reading zombie novels and things like that. So we would just get coffees at the Starbucks, read at Barnes and Noble for hours on end. That's actually where I picked up the comic books of The Walking Dead before the show came out. And so I read that. Yeah, I read the whole series of Walking Dead up to, the current issue that it was on before the show came out. And so I was super stoked for the show, of course, and was very much my dad and I got together and we watched it, and that was our thing. But World War Z, the book, it's got some great stuff, and it's nothing like the movie. They don't just all of a sudden infect themselves with AIDS and then you're good to go. Like, that is something that happens in the book, if I remember correctly. They find out that the people are sick, stuff like that. But they end up there's like Yonkers. There's a chapter on the whole Battle of Yonkers, which is suspenseful. The army takes a stand in Yonkers, New York, and fights off the undead. Just imagine a horde, and really, really, really worth a read. Can't recommend that enough. I droned on, but
I honestly don't remember that movie much. I just remember Brad Pitt was in it and he had kids.
I didn't like the movie.
Wasn't that the one where the people shake?
Yeah. And then that I remember they're trying to steal the diseases to get people sick. And you just remember that one scientist who's dead, and he's just like, ugh. He's like clacking his teeth and stuff. It's weird.
Ugh.
But I will say, though, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, that is one of the creepiest cartoon and probably the most adult themed. Scooby-Doo is pretty creepy. Did you ever watch Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
I didn't, but that might be a good one to watch with the kids.
And not with Logan.
Okay.
He's not quite there. I might be, maybe I'm over, it's maybe you'll watch it and be like, oh, that probably wasn't so bad, but it's definitely one of the more creepier ones that they've come out with. And it's really good. And I would watch it like Brielle, of course. She's probably fine to watch it, but I would recommend. It's really good film. It's come out a long time ago, and I've watched it every year.
I know some of the older stuff tends to be creepier than the newer stuff. Like we watched Monster Squad with Brielle last year, and it was like, I mean, the little kids smoking cigarettes, and Dracula calls the little girl a bitch, and I'm just like, the little girl's like 4. Oh, it's intense, but it's got all your classic monsters. You know, it's got the Mummy, it's got Frankenstein's monster. I'm really working hard to say monster instead of monster.
I saw your mom.
I'm working on it. One slipped on my recent video about Werewolf by Night. So before we go into more movies, I'm going to talk a little bit of Supernatural because 1, it's awesome, and 2,
take a drink, everyone.
I didn't get to Tim. When I say Tim, though, you got to chug your beer. So Supernatural has zombies appear many different times. The first time they'd appeared was early on, and it was in the episode Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. So the zombie that was brought back to life was actually brought back via a Greek spell. So they found her graveyard because it was dead grass all around it because she was an unnatural being. So she was killing any like living plant around her. And when they found her, they dug her up. She wasn't there. And there were Greek symbols inside of her coffin, which was interesting when I read about, zombies going all the way back to ancient Greeks. So the ancient Greeks used the symbols for communicating with dead, even bringing corpses back to life. So she got evil and she got strong. So that's, often we see all sorts of different things. Sometimes, they're just mindless eating machines. And then sometimes they're completely normal. Like I've never seen iZombie, but I believe she was like a doctor or something, like a mortician.
She was a mortician. And so the way it works with her, I watched the show is really good, actually. The comic, it's based off a comic book. And so she would eat the part of the victim's brains and she would get to their flashbacks and kind of see. And so that's how she helped solve the murders that way. It was pretty good.
I did hear good things about that show. I just never got into it. But zombies are depicted different throughout the show in different instances. But this one, she got stronger and she slowly got more evil. And when they were doing research on how to bring her, put her to rest for real, there was just so much zombie lore out there. And they're like, the only thing that seems to be consistent is silver. And so they nailed her back into the coffin with a silver stake to make sure she was good.
Isn't that for werewolves?
Silver works for a few different things, but werewolves as well, because it can burn them. I think because it's like a pure metal. So and salt works for a lot of things too, because salt is pure. So you can use salt for ghosts. You can use it for demons, all sorts of stuff like that. And iron works as well. See, I mean, we need these evil things to come. I'm ready.
That's true.
When that apocalypse happens, I'm ready to go, thanks to Supernatural.
It's going to be something so bonkers that we never prepared for. We're over here, we got the zombies. If it's vampires, we got them. Werewolves, we're good. It's going to be something stupid.
But so there were some fun references in this, because when I hear zombies, I think headshot. Just give them the headshot. And that was one of the things they tried to do, but she was not necessarily healing, but when they shot her, she seemed to be fine. The silver would slow her down, but it wouldn't stop her because they have silver bullets too at certain times. So that was why they combined different things and staked her right back into the coffin. So they pretended the zombie. What was funny is Jared had broken his arm before the episode. And so they had him without the cast in the episode. And at the very end, he goes, I think that zombie broke my arm. And then the next episode, he has a cast on. So they had to come up with a clever way to do that. So some fun facts from this episode. The crew of Supernatural inherited the dead tree seen in the cemetery from The Exorcism of Emily Rose in 2005, which I think isn't that the one that had Deb from Dexter?
I think, yes, that was her. It was. I saw this in theaters, actually. I remember it.
Yeah, that one was creepy. I remember seeing that. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I did see that.
I like but exorcism it's also the dead tree that movies. Was in I don't know why. Something about them.
Season 1 episode Scarecrow. So there was a reference to Night of the Living Dead. So Sam accuses Dean of being influenced by Night of the Living Dead, the 1968 one. Dean says, we can't just waste it with a headshot. And Sam says, dude, you've been watching way too many Romero flicks. I'm not going to go over all the zombie instances, but the last one I will mention is in the episode Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. This is also a 1982 mystery noir film that stars Steve Martin. The dead begin to rise, but they act normal until they eventually go evil and start eating people. This episode, they're dealing with one of the 4 horsemen, which was death, so they go biblical in this. Bobby then reads from the Bible, Revelation 6:8, which says, "And through the fire stood before me a pale horse, and he that sat atop him carried a scythe, and I saw since he had risen, they too shall rise, and from him and through him." End quote. Headshots did work here. They were able to headshot and kill the people, and they were gone for good.
Headshots should be your default for any monster. Like, shoot them in the head and then work your way backwards.
Shoot them in the head and then chop their head off and then keep the head away from the body.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, step 1, for any creature, shoot them in the head. Like, why is this not common sense to people in these movies?
There was a funny quote in this specific episode when they said, like, the dead are rising. Dean said, "Great, must be Thursday." And that was, because they were dealing with death. And he said, "Great, must be Thursday." So that was a joke because the show aired on Thursday. They did a lot of jokes like that. And that's it with my supernatural fun facts. If you want to talk about another movie, and then I'll go into your favorite, The Walking Dead
I just want to highlight a couple movies real quick. So obviously there's Train to Busan, which is a Korean film about zombies, which is really, really good. I've already talked about Night of the Living Dead being one of my favorites. And then Scooby-Doo, but both Dawn of the Dead's, both 1978, and then actually Zack Snyder's 2004 remake. And James Gunn actually helped write that movie in 2004 as well. It's really good. Highly recommend it. Like, there's this opening kind of like one-shot sequence where she's driving the car. Very good. The zombies are pretty creepy. It's got Tyrese in it. Ving Rhames is in it. It's a good movie. I definitely recommend, because that was really one of the first times I was like, oh, wow, these zombies are vicious, man. They are, and it doesn't age. It's pretty consistent. So aside from that, Overlord is a really good zombie film, and it takes place, during World War II. It's about basically Nazi zombies. That's what this is about.
Nazi zombies. Jeez. You didn't think Nazis could get any worse. Now they're zombies.
They do zombies. It's got Wyatt Russell in it. And some others, and that's
Wyatt Russell is in it.
Yeah, Wyatt Russell's in this one. It's a good movie.
Funny. I was just thinking, like, they need Zombie Cap to come fight the zombie Nazis.
Yeah, he's in it, and so he's part of the paratroopers. They parachute in and they fight.
Oh, so he's a good guy.
Watch.
Okay, sorry.
You got to see this one. This is definitely got to be on your list of zombie movies. Same with 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. In this one, it's actually a rage virus. Which they're basically zombies, except for the creepiest part is they freaking run. They run in this movie because they're infected. Like, they get infected and it's like rage. And the first one actually has Cillian Murphy in it. Really good. The second one has Jeremy Renner in it. And again, it's both good movies. And I was really expecting it 28 months later, but unfortunately we never got that. Recommend those. And then my last 2, Zombieland, of course, with Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and I forget the other girl's name all of a sudden. I completely blanked.
Oh, the little one?
She's very well known. Yeah. I suddenly forgot.
She's in Little Miss Sunshine and
she's in a bunch of stuff. Legit good movie. It's very comedic, and I think that all the cast members really worked really well. And I like the rules that Jesse Eisenberg's character had. And of course,
I actually have some fun facts for that one.
Well, give us some fun facts.
So Woody Harrelson agreed to star in the film under 4 conditions. The first 2 were stipulations involving the cast and crew, while the other 2 were mandated environmental conservationism. One of the latter conditions required the production to foster an environmentally friendly, conscious set, which I'm all for. I think that's awesome. But the other one, it required the director, Ruben Fleischer, to stick to a strict vegan diet for a week during the shoot. Fleischer likened the lack of dairy products to an alcoholic told not to drink. However, the 1-week challenge turned into an 11-month vegetarian diet for the director.
That's hilarious. Also, Bill Murray's in this movie, and it's amazing.
So Bill Murray was not going to be the original famous cameo. Prior to the cancer diagnosis of Patrick Swayze, he was originally offered the celebrity cameo, and he was going to play a zombie that poked fun at his character from Ghost and Dirty Dancing.
Oh.
Not to bring us down a notch. Zombieland was filmed in Georgia, and many of the same locations used for The Walking Dead. Recreational marijuana was not legal in Georgia, and Woody Harrelson got arrested for possessing marijuana, and it delayed production for one day. My last fun fact is every single drop of blood seen in Zombieland was added digitally after the film was shot.
Oh, really? You can see it in some places, but I would have thought a lot of that would have been practical on set. That's cool. I love the.
I think because they got a little bit of shit for it, but I mean, like, it was a cheese zombie movie. It was a comedy.
I really enjoyed when they're on the ride and they're going around, they're shooting the zombies while on the ride. There was some really well done makeup as far as the zombies in this look great. Of course, they're also running. And then Zombieland 2, I thought was a pretty decent movie as well. Being a sequel all those years later.
That one's not that old, right?
No, it came out in the last few years.
I got a list of I only watch these types of movies in October. List for
you, right? I know, but like, you know, the kids are going to school now, so
I should just sit at home and watch zombie movies all day. What are you doing with
your life? Just get a PSL.
That's fair.
And just watch zombies and horror movies all morning until you catch up.
In the past week, they've gone to school like 2 days.
Well, that's fair. You haven't really had a choice, but now they're going back to school. So,
oh yeah. Well, they have no school tomorrow again.
What the?
They got 4 hurricane days, 3 days, which Wednesday's always early, and now tomorrow's, I guess, a teacher planning day. I don't know.
Actually, my kids don't have school tomorrow either, but they are going to their daycare / camp because I'm trying to go get tattooed. So,
ooh, well, my mom has Logan. We're celebrating the oldest's birthday tomorro. We usually do a Mommy Kaylee Disney day. Ooh. Can I still call it Mommy Kaylee if she's 19?
You can, because that's always you're never not going to be able to, even though she didn't want to go to Oga's. I was about to say yes. It's okay that you don't want to go to Oga's.
Well, I was like, let me just randomly check if I can get an Oga's Cantina reservation tomorrow. And one popped up for $3.45, and I showed it to her, and she was like, okay. And I was like, well, do you want to? She's like, I don't care. I was like, well, it's $12 for a beer in there. If you don't care, like, we're not going to do it.
Take me.
It's not my birthday. Next time you come, first $12 beer on me.
My last film, Shaun of the Dead, which you just watched.
Yes, Shaun of the Dead.
That's a must-see with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Fantastic film.
Winchester Tavern?
Yes. Well, I'm just going to go to Winchester, have a pint, and wait for this all to blow over.
So Ian was one of the people that recommended the movie. And so we put it on last night, Josh and I, and like a few minutes in, I'm like, wait, I text him. I'm like, there's a Winchester Tavern in this. And he responds with a link to buy a stained glass Winchester Tavern sign.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And for anybody who doesn't watch Supernatural, that's their last name. The Winchesters. It's also the name of a gun. It's also the name of a haunted house.
Yes.
And obviously that was the gun, the Winchester. But I want that now.
That's pretty neat. But yeah, great. It's a great comedy film with zombies. And
it had some twists and turns I didn't see coming. Some I saw coming, some I didn't.
It did. And I love the whole Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. Like there's that whole Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and they did Paul and some other movies. I enjoyed those movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I liked them together as well. So everything they did for that period of time was pretty much comedic gold.
Yeah. It's always funny, like you wonder how you would actually react in a disaster. Are you fight or flight? Because he seemed like he was in his own way. And it was true when the one guy's like, you only hang out with him because he's the only person that's worse than you are.
That's true. And that was very emotionally heavy on top of everything else. So
it was. And there was one scene, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody else out there like me who hasn't seen it, because I think the fact that I did not know what was coming, like there's more than just zombies to the story. Like there was one scene in particular that like Simon Pegg, delivered.
Yes.
He was emotional, funny, self-deprecating. Like he hit them all.
Yeah. Agreed. That's all my movies. Do you have any other, like, what were your other fun facts? I saw you had some Walking Dead ones.
I have some Walking Dead fun facts. I'm hanging on to Walking Dead. Walking Dead's not going anywhere. Even if you stopped watching it,
they should have shot that show in the head too.
There's so many people that are obviously still watching this show because they keep making spinoffs.
Sean,
Tracy,
my dad, Tracy.
See, look at that. You just named quite a few people. So for all you still watching it, here's some fun facts. So the title opener that says The Walking Dead, every season it decays a bit more. I never noticed that when I saw that fun fact, and then they actually showed all the titles. I was like, oh, that's cool. A SWAT team was called in season 1 when Merle was on top of the building shooting, because they didn't realize that this was a film set, and so they called the cops and the SWAT team showed up. The executive producer has revealed that the ideal Walker actor should have big eyes, a good bone structure, and a long neck. And those croaky walker sounds are actually added in post-production. And if you want to ace that walker way of walking, these walker actors are told to move as if they're leaving the bar at 2 a.m. And they have what's called like zombie school.
Well, wasn't for a while, or they still might be doing it, but when Walking Dead was at its height, they would have big name actors and stuff that would come in and they would be walkers.
Yeah. I know like Negan, like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's son has been a walker too. So they'll have, I think there was like football players. We should try to find a list of that. Like that would have been a fun fact.
Because it was at its height. Everybody was like, oh, it's the walking. It was like Game of Thrones where people were, being put in there as walkers and stuff. And you couldn't tell because of the makeup.
Well, Chris Hardwick, who used to host Talking Dead, I think they had offered it to him and he like didn't want to do all the makeup or whatever. I'm sure it's a mess. And then you have to clean it all off.
It's so long to sit there and do it. And then you do all that time for 30 seconds of work, work maybe.
And when they have, because when we used to always watch it and then watch Talking Dead together. And like, I remember some of the actors would say they would end up like going through security and they would like still have fake blood on them. And then the guy who does all the special effects, he said, when they did hoarder scenes or what do they call them?
They're hordes
of zombies.
Yeah.
Like some of them barely got any makeup. And then the ones up front got like, there just wasn't enough time to do everyone properly.
Oh, this reminds me. I do have a couple of video games that I want to highlight after this.
Okay, so the human guts are ham soaked in vinegar. So I guess vegetarians can't. I don't know. There have been 16 Judiths. I thought that was funny because she was a baby for so long.
That's right.
In episode 5 of season 1, you can actually see Heisenberg's blue sky meth in Merle Dixon's drug stash. And there is a fan theory that the blue meth from Breaking Bad is what caused the zombie apocalypse because they're both on AMC and then you had that Easter egg. So the comic book ending, I wanted to talk a little bit about the comic book ending. The show now is getting to the end and it's near the end of where the comic book ended.
Last few episodes, isn't it?
Yeah. So, how the comic book ended was the area they're in now that they're starting to throw down in the show is actually where Rick, so spoilers 1, 2, 3, if you do want to read the comic, it is a fantastic comic. The kid of the governor ends up shooting Rick and Rick dies. And when I read that comic book, I was like, holy shit, they just killed Rick. And then I go to the comic book shop the next month and they're like, here's a thicker version because it's the last ever Walking Dead comic. And they did not announce it beforehand. They were just like,
yeah.
So I was like, wow, they're really doing the comic without Rick? No, they were just ending it. So that was there were so many things in the comic books that were literally shocking when I read it. But then it's a very happy ending at the same time because then they do a flash forward and Carl and Sophia are alive and married with a kid. Herschel is an obnoxious kid, or he's now grown,
right?
That he actually has a zombie sideshow because they've been able to eradicate the zombies so much that he literally bring zombies around to show people them.
Interesting.
One of them escapes. Carl kills it, and Herschel ends up like trying to sue him for destruction of property. Maggie, who's like the kind of like the president of everything, like comes in and like straightens it out because like Herschel's become like, his mom has power and he's become like obnoxious.
Right.
But they really did have like a weirdly beautiful ending. And there's more I could go into it, but a lot of it, like I honestly am remembering all the names and like who died and who didn't because it's so different.
Right.
Like Carol died early on in the comic and she's still alive in the show. Rick and Andrea were the power couple in the show, not Rick and Michonne. And I think Andrea died before Rick, but much, much later than she did in the show. And so it's all over the place. But they are taking scenes straight out of the comic. In this last season, we got to meet Princess, who she looked just like she came out of the comic. They now have the Stormtrooper outfits. Cause I remember picking up that comic and being like, they look like Stormtroopers. And then they showed up on the screen. So that's why I'm still watching, because I loved how the comic ended and I want to see how it plays out, even though there's no way it can end how the comic did because all the different characters are there or aren't there. So that's what I got.
Well,
and I think that is the last of my fun facts. If you have anything else before we jump into letters to the editors.
I just want to talk about some good zombie games. So, of course, Call of Duty introduced Nazi zombies, which is really fun. And I would hate playing by myself at 3 a.m. back when I was alive at 3 a.m. and stayed up that late playing video games. And because it would always be creepy, you'd be doing this by yourself. You'd, get one place latched up, then you turn around and boom, there's some zombies there. But it was always so much fun playing online with your friends, or your friends were over back when multi-screens were a thing and you guys would all get together and split screen zombies and stuff. I cannot tell you how often we played it deployed. And that was like a big, big thing when we were deployed. We'd play Nazi zombies together, and that was a great bonding moment. But aside from that, Xbox had a really good one I used to play, and it was Left 4 Dead. And that was a really creepy game. It had various, just not zombies, but there was other things. Resident Evil, of course, which the movies weren't as good, but Resident Evil, the Umbrella Corporation made them zombies. And then there's Death by Daylight and some other things, but the biggest one is The Last of Us, which is going to be an HBO Max TV show here soon, starring Pedro Pascal. And that's zombies. It starts in Boston, and that's another really good video game. So I just wanted to shout those out. If you haven't played them, you've been living under a rock, go check those out. Cannot recommend them enough. And that's what I got for video games. So let's move on to some letters to the editor.
So they're not really letters to the editor. I just put out a poll for...
Yes.
What?
I was saying you put out a favorite zombie movies poll.
Oh, yeah. So some of the favorite zombies, my husband recommended I Am Legend. Sir Charles Mack said Dawn of the Dead, 1978.
That's Charlie, man. That's my boy, C. Mac Charlie.
Yes, he was on our Jurassic Park episode?
Yes, we used to get drunk and watch all these kind of movies together every October back when we lived not together, but close to each other.
Stacy and Ian both recommended Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
And Notoriously Nerdy Pod recommended Dawn of the Dead and World War Z. Man. And then we actually do have one letter to the editor from Micah. He asked, which Boo Bucket from McDonald's is the best? And the Boo Buckets are coming back.
The 18th.
October 18th to McDonald's. Yeah. There's a pumpkin, a witch, and a ghost. So
obviously
which is your favorite?
The pumpkin is, because I'm a pumpkin slut, dude. Like that's the number one.
Okay, so you're wrong. It's witch, actually.
I think I said witch in the family page, but it's a pumpkin.
But the witch was green.
Oh.
At least the ones that are coming back.
I'm going to be honest. I don't remember what colors were which. All I know, pumpkin. That's the goat. And I don't even remember what's in them, but I'm excited to get them.
I think it's just a Happy Meal.
Oh, I think you're right. And they said the buckets. I don't remember. Now, see, this
so we used to get the buckets and like hang them on our tree out front. So I have to go witch because I was a witch for Halloween like 6 years in a row when I was a kid, and I've had the witch bucket. Of course, my kids have never had McDonald's.
Really? I get my kids.
I might go. Well, the two youngest haven't. The oldest has.
Podcasting nights, I give the kids McDonald's.
Josh sometimes does Chick-fil-A those days.
That's fair. Chick-fil-A. When you have the option of Chick-fil-A, you always go Chick-fil-A. To be fair.
Yeah, but Chick-fil-A is not the best corporation, so I try not to support them. But gosh damn it, it's hard when you have kids.
That's also true. Look, all these companies, can you guys be better? Please.
I know, right?
Hobby Lobby.
Ugh, I hate that I can't go to Hobby Lobby. I miss Hobby Lobby.
I miss it too so much. Because it's got all the good shit in it, but you can't support them because they're like black marketing artifacts and Christian haters, and it's just something. It's just something.
Well, this got political, but there you have it. Yeah.
But there you have it, folks. The introduction to our spooky season, version 3 now. We are in version 3. It's the 3rd year in a row, I believe, because we've been a podcast for 2 years. We started.
Oh my gosh.
That's true. This is version 3. More to come. Thanks for joining us. Next week, we're going to be doing Disney Halloween movies and theme parks at the holidays. So let us know if you listen. Let us know which theme park holidays you like the most, which Disney Halloween film is your favorite, whether it's Halloween Town, Under Wraps, Don't Look Under the Bed, stuff like that. Make sure you let us know.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Let us know. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss. And if you want to come on, talk some spooky stuff, let us know again. We're always down. So until next week, guys, make sure you go ahead and follow us at Hops Geek News anywhere on social media and search Hops News on all podcasting platforms. Don't forget, we will be going under Hops Geek News here soon. We will announce that shortly.
And I should have mentioned this earlier. All of our stuff from FanX should be on YouTube now on the Hops Geek News YouTube.
Help us out on
I've been going through all of it. It's taken me longer than I expected. We had so much amazing content, but it should all be up there. And if you haven't seen the interview with Dante and Randall and you're a Clerks fan,
what are you doing?
I still can't believe it happened.
Take 10 minutes of your life. Jeez.
There you go. So
Anyways,
that should all be up there by now.
Facts. We'll see you next week, guys. Stay spooky. Go do some spooky stuff. Show us your Halloween costumes. And cheers.